Hello, I'm Mr. Kelly, school counselor here at Bloom Carroll for grades 11 and 12. So have you ever thought about CCP? Do you know about CCP? Would you like to know more? If so, this presentation's for you. Hello and welcome to this year's CCP presentation. During normal years, the CCP presentation is in person, and I was looking forward to working with you all in person. However, of course, given the pandemic, we're trying to avoid mass gatherings. So welcome to this year's virtual CCP presentation. So your first question is, what is CCP? College Credit Plus. I'll use the acronym CCP throughout the course of this presentation with brevity in mind. So what CCP is the ability to be able to take a single class that counts for two different things. So when you take a CCP class, it'll count for high school credit, but it'll also simultaneously count for college credit. So you're earning credit for both of those classes. Now, we're gonna go through a lot of details today, but let me do my best to be able to condense everything that you need to do if you're interested in CCP in a nutshell. First thing is turn in a letter of intent. So if you turn in a letter of intent, then the next step is apply to the college that you would like to be able to take CCP through. And finally, the third step is register for those classes. If you do those three steps, then CCP is probably in your near future. Now, with CCP, let's kind of talk about eligibility a little bit. So eligibility is in the past largely based off of test results such as the ACT. However, again, with the pandemic, in Ohio, not everyone's been able to take the ACT. So what they've done is they've been able to start looking at cumulative unweighted GPA. So the standard right now that they have set is a cumulative unweighted GPA of 3.0 or greater would help with your eligibility towards CCP. Here's a really easy way of looking at it. Once you apply to the college will help determine whether or not you're eligible. So with that, let's also take a look then of the next step, which is risk versus benefits. You might be thinking, okay, I'm interested in CCP. The benefits, they kind of come to mind because most people think of free college as a good thing. And yes, there is free college. That is one benefit. Another benefit is that by the time you do graduate high school, that you're likely to be able to travel through your college experience faster because you've already completed some courses. Additionally, oftentimes, that by taking CCP classes in high school, when you get to college, you perform better on those college courses because, again, you've already taken high level or very rigorous based courses. Now, the risks, though, also are associated with this. So one of those risks is that, again, earlier we mentioned that there's high school classes and college classes. You get credit for both of those when you're involved in CCP. That means that your GPA will also be affected for high school as well as college. So just to put that into perspective is when you pass a class, let's say you passed with a lower grade than you wanted to, that means that it'll affect GPA for high school as well as your college GPA, even though you're not in college yet because you're a high school student. It would still affect both. Additionally, is if you do not pass a course, then you would be financially responsible for compensating the district for the cost of that course. Another thing that's maybe not pointed out a whole lot is parent involvement. So college classes are, of course, very rigorous. They are indeed college courses. The parent involvement oftentimes for CCP is kind of removed. It's largely based then therefore with the professor to student communication. So if you're really involved in your students' classes and you're communicating with teachers all the time, again, CCP will put a little bit of a twist there for you. Okay, so that's some of the risks and benefits of doing CCP. Let's dive into some of the details there revolving around letter of intent, application to college, and then registering for the classes. Okay, letter of intent. So the letter of intent, all it is it puts on the district or Bloom Carroll's radar that you are considering doing CCP in the following year. So there's no obligation. I want to point out that there's no obligation. So by filling out the letter of intent, again, it's just putting it on our radar. And with that is keep in mind that because there's no obligation, it would be a good idea, if you're even with an inclination thinking about doing it, go ahead and turn in your letter of intent. If you look on your screen right now, you'll see that the top information is rather self-explanatory, name, things like that. So I'm going to move to the second page on there, and you will see that there's a couple different options. Typically, students and families will select option B, because what option B is that the district would be responsible for the cost of those CCP classes, meaning you would not be responsible, again, unless you participated and did not pass a class. The deadline for the letter of intent is May 1st. So May 1st is the deadline. This is something that you will need to fill out every year. So if you've taken CCP in the past, keep in mind that you will need to fill out another CCP letter of intent for this upcoming 21-22 school year. Okay, so that's letter of intent. That was the first step. The next step is applying to the college. Just like the letter of intent had a deadline of May 1st, your application to college also has a deadline of May 1st. So which school do you apply to? Which college do you apply to? And the answer is CCP can be any college in the state of Ohio, any public college in the state of Ohio. Private schools have the option to be able to participate, and oftentimes I find that they do participate. With that, there are two major schools that, largely because of proximity, that majority of our students apply to, and that's going to be Hocking College and Ohio University Lancaster. Again, we have some other students that apply to other colleges, but it's largely about 90% to those two specific colleges. Now, for applying to the college, let's talk about the specific process there. So let's say you've determined that you wanted to go to Ohio University Lancaster. At that, what you'll do is the application is not ready as of right now from Ohio University Lancaster, but once it's published, you can just simply Google. We'll also put on our website, Ohio University Lancaster CCP application. And once you have that and printed, you can complete it, return it back to me, Mr. Kelly. You can also just turn it into the counseling office right here, and then we will deliver that over to Ohio University in Lancaster. The same thing would apply for other colleges, such as Hocking College. Is you would you look on our website to be able to identify the CCP application and complete that, and then return it back to the counseling office. Okay, we have letter of intent. We've talked about application to college. Now let's talk about registering for classes. Okay, when it comes to taking College Credit Plus classes, there are two major ways in which you can take these classes. One is taking classes at the college itself. So that means you would not be on Bloom Carroll campus, you'd be at the college. And then the other method is taking classes here at Bloom Carroll. Transitioning there, Bloom Carroll does have a number of CCP classes taught by our high school teachers. If you look at your screen right now, you can see that, as kind of mentioned earlier, there are two colleges that we go through a lot, which is Ohio University Lancaster, as well as Hocking College. Ohio University Lancaster, here at Bloom Carroll, we only have Spanish 4 as a CCP class through Ohio University Lancaster. However, if you transition over to Hocking College, you will see that we have a lot more of our classes here at the high school through Hocking College. Every course on there that has an asterisk would be a semester-based course. If I were to highlight there just for a moment, physics, while that is a semester course, and there are two separate classes there, we typically teach that as a class that will be organized in the student's schedule as a full year class. But again, that is two separate classes that will just show up in their schedule as 1 year class. Okay, moving on to some specifics there about contemplating whether or not to be able to take classes here at the high school versus taking classes at the college. how you would register for those classes is going to be a little bit different. If you're looking to be able to register, take classes over at Ohio University Lancaster, then the process is directly through them. So you would be working directly with Ohio University Lancaster to be able to and register for your classes through them. So it kind of, as an example, leaves the school out of it just a little bit, the Bloom Carroll out of it just a little bit. However, the process there, when you start to, as soon as you apply to Ohio University Lancaster, you will receive some communication about their orientation. An orientation is necessary to be able to register for classes there. That's necessary both for students to attend as well as parents and guardians to attend. After you go through orientation, you receive your registration, and then Ohio University Lancaster will be working with you directly to be able to register for those specific classes. Here at the high school is, if you want to take classes for CCP here at Bloom Carroll, then us counselors, Mr. Kelly as well as Mrs. Moore, will be in the classrooms doing registration starting in February all the way through May. There'll be multiple opportunities for students to be able to select the classes that they want to be able to take through CCP. Additionally, that throughout that February through May timeframe, there will be course requests from each student sent home to you as parents and guardians to be able to take a look at the courses that your student has selected. All right, so we've covered letter of intent, applying to the college, and registering for the classes. There are still just a couple additional items to consider when thinking about CCP. We mentioned that some classes are here at the high school, some classes are over at the college. If you're considering one or the other, while there's plenty of benefits to both, when you're trying to be able to take classes at the college and classes at the high school, keep in mind that the schedules between the two schools might not necessarily align. So classes over at Ohio University Lancaster, as an example, might be periods 1 to 3. However, by the time the student gets back here at the campus, might not be able to take a class due to the start times until, let's say, 5th period. Additionally, some other things to take into consideration would be that, let's say you're thinking about going over to the college and being full-time CCP student, which means you don't really step in the Bloom Carroll campus anymore. You will still receive all of our communication that Bloom Carroll sends out via email on our website, things like that. However, that some of those will say daily reminders over the loudspeaker and things like that might not be there anymore. So there's additional responsibility for the students and families to be able to check those electronic resources. There is a max amount of hours that students can take through CCP, and that number is 30. Let me just give a couple of quick examples of how you come up with that. If you're doing full-time CCP and that's the only classes you're taking, then getting to that 30 number and determining if you're under that is relatively easy, because you would just add up all the college credit hours that you're taking at the college, and that sum total will tell you whether or not you're less than 30. However, if you're doing a mixture of taking some CCP hours as well as just high school credits, then what happens is there's a conversion ratio there. There's a 3-to-1 conversion. So 1 high school credit is equivalent to 3 college credits. Let me give a real brief example of that. Let's say that you're taking 12 college credits at Ohio University Lancaster. So that's 12. If you were taking 5 credits here at Bloom Carroll, because it's a 3-to-1 ratio, those 5 credits would actually be equivalent to 15 college credits. So you'd add 15 plus 12 for a total of 27. As a counselor, of course, I can work with you to be able to determine whether or not you're under that 30. Okay, so after all of this, you're still thinking about applying to CCP. Let me go and review that process. Go and turn in your letter of intent, go and apply, and then go ahead and register for the classes. You always have the option at a later date to be able to remove yourself from CCP. but once we get past that May 1st deadline, it is therefore too late to participate in CCP for the upcoming school year. Within this presentation, I hope you know that there are additional resources that will be sent out via email as well as on our website. I very much enjoyed working with you today virtually. I hope you enjoyed this riveting presentation and look forward to talking to you soon.